Welcome back to another episode of Balancing Business and Babies. I'm Lucy. Just for those that don't know, I am joined by Mia Dixon. Mia is the owner and founder of Celebrate Sleep with Mia. She is a sleep consultant, I am assuming, but I will let her introduce herself properly when she comes on. She was actually born in South Africa, but she lived in Botswana for about 4 years before moving to the UK. So I'm really happy to have you on the show, Mia. I'm actually going to try and plug you on another show of mine as well for a client of mine, their parenting company. I think you would be amazing on their show as well. So hopefully if you listen to both, we can get Mia to come and have a chat on that show as well. So lovely to have you on the show, Mia. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, Lucy. Glad to be here.
It's lovely to have you. So do you want to tell us a little bit about you, Mia, and how it was sort of growing up in Botswana and why you moved to the UK?
Yeah, so like you said, I was born in South Africa, and then my parents, we moved over to Botswana for a bit because my mum was a radiotherapist, so worked in the oncology unit. So she went to go and help start the unit up in the Gabs General Hospital there. And then dad got a job opportunity here in the UK because sort of things, I mean, if you follow the political situation back home there, it's not great, which is such a shame because there's so much potential, but it's another story for another day. But yeah, then we came here just before I started my GCSEs, hence I've got as I started my GCSEs, hence no accent. So I got to do all this like schooling career, yeah. And then I went off to university after doing A-levels, and I actually did occupational therapy first. But when I left the NHS, there were no real jobs in peds, and I only wanted to work with children. So I was like, no, I don't want to work with old people. No, thank you. So then I actually became a teacher. So I went to go and went back to Cape Town, studied there for a bit, and then became a teacher. And then I became a mum just before the pandemic hit. So my eldest was 3 months old before we kind of went into lockdown. And, actually, I do remember newborn sleep was awful. I remember holding her and she was crying at night, and it's at nighttime that it's the worst. And you're just like, what do I do? I'd sort of tried to read everything, but nothing kind of made sense. And then she started sleeping through the night by about 5 months. So I was really lucky. So I was like, this is okay. Naps weren't great, but I was like, sleep's fine. And then my son came along, and completely different story. And they were so different when it came to their sleep. I mean, they are so different as human beings anyway, but his sleep was completely different. And I had no idea what to do, how to help him, because you have so much, there's so much advice out there saying you have to do this. No, you can't do that. You have to do this. And then you kind of trying to figure it all out while you're a sleep deprived mom looking after a toddler. And then that's when I sort of stumbled across a sleep consultant. And I kind of looked into it and I was like, oh, actually, I quite like this. And this is what I'd like to do. And that's how Celebrate Sleep with Mia was born, through a very sleep deprived state, and just trying to figure out how to help mums in a way that sort of really compassionate, non-judgmental, because we're all just trying to do our best for our kids, and sort of trying to navigate sleep along with everything else is so hard. So it's just kind of being someone there to help support you through it. And that's my big drive now, is just to kind of help parents and make particularly mums, let them feel heard and safe and not judged, and just kind of a safe space to help them learn as well, because sleep is so complex. When you start diving into it, you're just like, wow, there's so much that can impact it, and so much small changes that can have such a big impact on sleep and everything. And so that's how I kind of fell into this.
Yeah, and there's a lot of conflicting advice, isn't there? There's, like you say, there's so much advice out there, but you can look at one person that tells you, that's a sleep expert, or the NHS, for example. You can go into their sleep guidance, sleep training. You can speak to a health visitor, and you will get so many different bits of information from individual people. And it's like, well, who do I listen to? Which one do I follow? I suppose working with someone like yourself, like a sleep consultant that actually kind of comes in, and rather than just giving the guidance like the NHS would do, you actually sort of work with the family, work with the baby. You know that family, you know the baby, you know what, maybe what their diet is, what their family life is like. Is there any sort of external and internal issues that are kind of going on that might be causing a problem. So you can kind of have more of a personalized journey with that family rather than just, okay, you've got to do this, you've got to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, 100%. And I think one of the things I do is I send like loads of questionnaires before we start so that I can have a really good idea of their sleep habits and also the child's temperament. And that's a big one that actually can really impact their sleep and sort of how they learn how to support them learning, like to foster independent sleeping skills. So it's just kind of really honing in on what that child needs, on how to help meet their needs, and also the parents, because I think as a mom, you bring so much of your own baggage from when you were a child and you kind of bring it in with you. So you're just so scared of messing up and doing it wrong because everyone's telling you, no, you're not doing it right because you're not doing it this way. And actually, it's just, we just need to stop listening to that kind of advice. We're the best expert on our children. And it's really like tuning into your instincts and your intuition that can really help you so much more than what you think it is. So it's like trying to tune out all the noise in the background. And that's one thing I love doing, is like really empowering moms just to kind of be like, right, this is what I would suggest. And if they come to me and they're like, no, that's not going to work with my baby, I'm not going to force them. I'll be like, right, let's figure something else out. Let's do it a different way. Let's try something else out. Which I quite like, sort of having all these different tools in order to help support mums in a way that feels right for them and not just getting them to like block out. Because you hear some horror stories about some sleep consultants be like, right, can you send me a video of how your child's crying? And then I can decide whether you should go in to see them or not. And you're like, what are you doing? No. So yeah, I'm here to like support mums and empower mums because we know our children the best. I mean, they drive us mad, so we definitely know them the best and sort of how to support them.
Yeah, definitely. With sort of going back to the kind of what you said about the guilt side of it, because obviously, like you say, all parents sort of, I think it would be out of the norm for parents to not feel guilt at some point in their parenting journey. Either I feel it on a daily basis that I'm doing something wrong with my son.
Yes.
It's a constant struggle for me. I always feel like I've messed up somewhere with him. Actually, I just wanted to go back and touch on one thing with regards to your son and the sleeping. Have you noticed that there's a difference between girls sleeping and boys sleeping? Because my son was really bad with sleeping as well. And I know quite a lot of other parents and they've got boys and they tend to be a lot worse than the girls. And I was just wondering whether that's a thing that you've picked up on or noticed, or is that just sort of a coincidence?
I think it's just a coincidence. Like the main things, like when you look at their temperament, and the two temperaments where the children kind of have the most difficulty with their sleep is sort of sensitive. And a sensitive type, they really feel like they're so in tune with their bodies. So like any teething, when they're going through like a developmental leap or milestones, they really feel all those changes and like light or sound. And that can like wake them up quite easy or sort of really kind of make it hard. And then you have your spirited kids who are your more active ones who are constantly moving and is trying to like not force them, but like really trying to like get them to calm their bodies down and in ways that kind of really helps them to do it while you're still meeting their needs. So you're not just leaving them to cry it out because you know that that's not going to work because they can go for hours crying at like full throttle and just not stopping. So it's so much to do with temperament. And then you've also got your sleep temperament, which kind of adds to the thing. So you've got the children who are your signalers, who your criers, who sort of need a bit more support. And then those children who kind of self settle themselves a bit more easier from birth. So it's such potluck with which temperament you get and the temperament types and stuff like that. So it's the sensitive and spirited temperament types that you kind of have those parents who are just pulling their hairs out because they're like, I'm trying to follow like this generic sleep plan that's like naps. The naps are always like the bane of my life because I was like, I don't like my children aren't following this nap schedule. Why is this not working? And it's because they're individuals. They're not a tick box exercise. And they both have such different temperaments. Like the more I learn about temperament and stuff like that, they're so different. And now it makes so much sense as to why they were so different with their sleep. And I've had like helped mums with girls as well, who's just, it's almost like been the opposite. So they've had a boy who's been sort of really sort of a bit more textbook like, and then they've had a daughter who's been a bit more spirited. And then they're just like, what have I done wrong? Like what? It's like, You've not done anything wrong. You've just got a very different child, and that's normal. And I think like for mums, we need to let go of that guilt of just because my child's not sleeping through at 6 months or whenever, it doesn't mean I'm a bad mum, and it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. It just means they have different needs that need meeting in different ways. Just like really like tuning into your child and just being like, right, what do you need? How can I help you? It is hard. And I like, particularly when you're sleep deprived and you're pulling your hair out and you're like, I just don't know what to do. I'm so stuck. I need someone just to help, because none of the generic social media stuff is working.
Yeah, we really struggled with my son Jacob. He's a lockdown baby as well. He was born in April of 2020, so I think we went into lockdown on the 28th or 27th of March. So he was just literally just after we went into lockdown. And we struggled with his sleep. When we came home from the hospital, and I'd had an emergency C-section as well, so I was sort of unable to move. I was just essentially just sort of propped up in bed. But I would say probably for the first 6 months of his life, and I was very lucky, my husband actually, because of lockdown as well, my husband was given sort of an extended paternity leave by his company. They were amazing. So he had like 6 to 8 months off with us, which was fab. But when after Jacob was born, he would only contact sleep. We tried absolutely everything we could. We tried him in a cot. We tried him in bassinet. We brought one of those, I think they're called snus pod cribs.
Yes,
so it's like I loved it. After I'd say it was about 8 months when he started using that, and it was brilliant because it sort of attached to our bed, so we could feel like he was in the bed but not in the bed. But for the first 6 months, all he would do was sleep on me or his dad. That's the only place he would fall asleep. So for the first 6 months, all we had to do was I would sit up with him for half of the night, and about 3 o'clock in the morning, my husband, who'd been sleeping, would wake up and he would swap out with me so that I could go and have some sleep. It was absolutely horrendous. I was so tired. Both of us were like walking zombies for the first 6 months. But we found out that eventually that he'd got a CMPA, the like milk allergy.
Cow milk allergy.
Cow milk protein allergy. And once we found that out and we switched his formula, he was like a different baby. He started sleeping through properly. He went into a nice schedule, and it was probably all just purely because he was on the wrong formula.
It's so hard. Like, I'm as a new mum as well, because you have, and I know during COVID, it just would have, the birth you had and then everything would have just sort of made it even worse. And then as first time mum, you have a feeling something's not right, but then you have all like these healthcare professionals being like, no, you're just being ridiculous. You're just being a first time mum. And it's like, no, something isn't right. Like, something needs to change. And then it's so hard. And it's so hard for mums to like keep fighting, because something's not working and something needs to change. And then sometimes just figuring out, like with him, with the allergy, and just doing a different formula. And you're like, oh, if I just had someone to be like, maybe try this or see if it could be this. And that's one of the things I do is I sort of look and really find out whether the baby could be suffering from reflux. Because if they have reflux, it doesn't matter how much sleep training you do or how much sleep support learning you do, they're not going to sleep if they're uncomfortable or if they're hurting. So it's looking at those and all the sleep disorders as well, like sleep apnea and stuff like that. Those are all things you need to look out for, because they all need to be sorted out and ruled out before you can actually get to like the more behavior side of stuff.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons that we loved the snus pod bed, because and that really helped him, because after he was sort of diagnosed and we found out that he'd got this cow's milk allergy, they also said he'd got a reflux issue going on as well. So with the snus pod bed, you could kind of, what do you call it? Like, you could put it on a little incline, the mattress. So it was just ever so slightly elevated so that he wasn't completely flat. And I think that combined with the formula. But because he was obviously he was a COVID baby, we had absolutely no input at all from anyone. I still to this day, he's 4.5 now, and I still to this day have seen a health visitor once since he was born. And that was about a year later, and all she did was come around just to do his 1 year check. I never saw a health visitor during lockdown. So all of this was me and his dad basically trying to figure it out on our own. It was horrible. And I think maybe if we'd have had someone like you coming in, we probably would have found it a little bit sooner than we did, and hopefully he wouldn't have gone through the 6 months of non-sleep that he did.
Yeah. And it is hard. And like with lockdown, because your whole support system was taken away. So you had none of the mum groups, because that's where you go to a mum group and you start chatting and then they'll be like, oh, what about this or that? So that was just all gone. And then you're like left scrambling. And as first time parents, you just don't know. You're learning every day. You're learning so much. And you're just trying to figure everything out. And you're just so lost a lot of the time. But no, luck. And I know even from now, from when B was born, reflux is taken so much more seriously. It's not just, oh, they're just a colicky baby. It's like, no,
Yeah.
it's not that. There's so much more to it. So like, and that's the thing with what I say to all mums. If you think something is wrong and not right, you can figure out, just don't give up, because if you know in your gut something isn't right, then you might need to fight to find out what it could be, but just keep going. And just don't be dismissed by and I know GPs are amazing, but they have to know so much, so they can't know everything. So you just need to keep fighting. And if you don't like your healthcare visitor, which I had a horrendous one with the because I think she's got a lactose intolerance, because my husband has a lactose intolerance, and she had really bad eczema on her skin. And I was just dismissed by the healthcare visitor. They were like, no, you're not doing that. You shouldn't be taking out a whole food group. I was like, yeah, but look at her skin. And now that I've swapped out, now we just do lactose-free milk. Her skin is fine and she doesn't have the eczema on her skin. And you're like, well, why was I not listened to? Like, I knew something wasn't right. So yeah, if you know something's not right, just keep going.
Yeah, and I think we as parents, we probably don't listen to that kind of, like what you say, like mum gut, your gut instinct that
Yeah.
99% of the time it's probably right. There is something, I think, that's kind of inherent with parents, and especially mums. We do know when something's not right, and like you say, you had a feeling that it was a lactose thing, and as soon as you changed that out, it got better. And so I think we do need to start maybe listening to that inner voice and keep fighting for it sometimes.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think you're trained not to listen to it, you're just sort of that instincts or that gut feeling, you're trained to learn to ignore it. And then actually you need to now really tune into it and learn how to listen to it again. Because like you said, when you know something's not right, you just have that feeling. You can't quite put your finger on it. You don't know what it is, but something isn't 100%. So it's just really listening to your intuition and your instinct. And I think as a mum, it kind of kicks up a bit more, because we've got two little ones to think about and worry about and stress about. So it's, definitely listen to it.
Yeah, definitely. So going back to what you were saying earlier about feeling guilty, firstly, how did you yourself kind of cope with feelings of guilt, and what advice do you give to other parents that might be struggling with it? What would you say to them?
So I'm still trying to figure out exactly how to sort of stop the feelings of guilt. I don't think they'll ever go away. I think it's but I think there's I've had a really good friend of mine, a mum said, and this is what her mum said to her, it's I felt really bad putting my kids in nursery. And then she was like, my mum said to me that actually you put them in nursery and then you can have that time to yourself. And then when you get them back, you are a better mum because you've had that time, And for me, working, I love working and I really enjoy using my brain in different ways. And I've had to really sort of have really strong chats with myself and be like, the kids are fine in nursery. They love it. I mean, now Bee's at school. She loves it. They've got their friends. They're so happy there. And it means when you get them back, you're just a better mum. You don't have to feel guilty for asking someone else to look after them and make sure they save. And it's taking that time to try and fill your cup as well, which I'm not good at. I'm still trying to go away for a weekend without the kids and leaving them with their dad, because he can look after them as well. It's not just solely my responsibility. So just trying to get away and take that time to yourself, because then you come back and you feel a bit more energized, a bit better. The feelings of guilt haven't completely gone away when you sort of go away for 2 nights or something and do something with a friend or my sister and stuff. So any tips or anything like that, I'm still working through it. And I think that's the thing, you become a mum and you're still trying to figure out so much stuff. But yeah, one thing is I definitely try to be better at self-care and just looking after myself so I can be there for them and show up for them as they need me to show up for them too.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I didn't like putting my son in nursery either. I only started doing part-time because my business had sort of taken off a little bit, and I needed that time to kind of, I think because of him being in lockdown as well and not having the support of like the going to the parenting groups and, you know, the little play dates and stuff like that as well. So I'd literally been with him 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which is great, but I needed that little bit of time just for myself. And I was really enjoying working on my business. All I wanted was just, you know, an hour or two just for myself, just to kind of sit at my laptop, do what I needed to do. And I thought I need to put him in nursery just for, I think he was 18 months old, I think, or 15. Yeah, 15 months old, I think, when I first put him in. And it was only for 2 days a week, half time, you know, part time. But those 2 mornings a week that he did was fab for me. It was just enough time for me to be able to have a little shower on my own, you know, without having to
by
pull
yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I didn't have to worry about, you know, oh gosh, is he entertained? I had to literally like keep him in the bathroom in his little things, sit him on the floor with about a million toys while I had a shower. And you know, it was just nice just to be able to jump in the shower and just have 10 minutes in there on my own and not have to worry about him being there and if he was okay. And then I'd come downstairs, work on my business for an hour, and then I'd go and pick him up, and it was great. And it did my mental health a lot of good, actually. But I think one of the things as well that I know for a lot of parents, the guilt kind of comes from maybe not feeling that maybe, what's the word? We all get guilt of we're doing something wrong with our children, I think, you know, and then we've said something or we've upset them or, you know, we've damaged them for the future at some point. But I think some parents maybe feel guilty because they feel guilty about the way they feel about their children sometimes, i.e. that the motherhood side of it hasn't turned out the way that they thought it was going to. It's maybe not all of the, you know, the butterflies and roses side of it. And, you know, they've ended up with a very colicky baby that doesn't sleep. They're sleep deprived. They've not had this kind of realization of motherhood sometimes. So did your sort of motherhood vision change, and how have you kind of come to terms with that for you?
So I grew up thinking that as a woman, you get married, you have children, and then your whole life is complete. And then I had, you know, I love my husband and we got married and then we had children and my whole life wasn't complete. I felt like I'd lost so much more of me, actually. And I've not gained anything. I've lost this whole identity and now I'm just mum. So I really struggled with coming to terms with who I am and trying to find out, like, try to discover the new me, because you change so much as a mum. Your whole, it's almost like your whole world just shifts off its axis and you're now spinning on a different axis. And it's not easy and it is hard. And there are days where you just want to walk out the door and never come back, because you're like, actually, that the freedom of not having to worry about anyone, the freedom of not needing, you know, like just not having to think about anything other than yourself is so, it's so sort of, you just want to do that. You just want to go because you're so tired. And I think mums shouldn't feel guilty for feeling like that. It's normal. We've sort of, if you look at how we raise our kids now, it's not normal. Like, it's not normal just to do this all by yourself. And you look at how things have changed. You know, where's that village that everyone says you should have to help you? I mean, we don't live close to parents, so I can't get parents in to come and help. And I think it's amazing that some people have parents really involved with their bringing up their kids, and that really helps them. But we don't have that. It's just us. And my husband leaves at 6:30 and is back at 6:30 during the day. So during like the whole day, I am in charge of the children. It's just letting go of that expectations of it's not going to be all rainbows and butterflies and sunshine. And that's okay. You know, you need to have a mum friend that you can phone up and say, I hate this right now. I do not want to do this anymore. And then you sort of feel better because you've said the words, they've gone. You don't need to like sit with that guilt. And you have a lot of the time you have them being like, I know what you mean. I've had so and so throw so many tantrums. I just don't know what they want. They're just being a bit of a so and so, and I just cannot deal with it anymore. And then you're just like, oh, actually, at least it's not just me. Like, there are other people that feel this way. And then you've said it. then you feel better, and then you go back to your kids and you give them what they need. So I think you can okay those feelings. It's okay to feel that this is really hard, but you're loving it at the same time. And I don't think it has to be one or the other. You're not going to be a bad mom because you don't want to be with your kids all the time. So I just think it's kind of trying to let go of that expectations of it being amazing, because it's not, because it's that invisible load that comes with the motherhood. Like you're constantly making sure the clothes are clean, or do they fit? Do you need to go buy new clothes? Do you have the right clothes for the right seasons? With the school now, do they have school uniform? Is it all labeled? And then you've got all the community, like there's just so much that you're just exhausted. And I think it should be okay not to enjoy it all the time. I mean, I love my kids. I love them to bits and I will do anything for them. And, anyone tries to hurt them or anything like that, I will be that mama bear and I will step in and I will make sure they are safe. But it is like, it is hard. And like, it's those little things, like trying to get them out the door on time. I've given up with ever being on time for anything. And that's the hard thing about school, is you have to be there at a certain time now. So at least it's just the one. But I think, it's not. And there are some mums who love it and it's just everything. And it's just everything they've thought of. But I think it's okay if that's not your experience of it. And it's finding something that works for you and your family. And that still makes, and every family is so different and so unique that you can find something that might work for you, but not for someone else. So it's just kind of block out. It's all that noise. It's the social media noise. It's those mums with the perfect life, the perfect houses. And that's the one thing I've had to let go. My house is not tidy all the time. It's
no, not much.
It's like I go
It is what it is.
downstairs and there's it is what it is. And it's okay. You can't I'd love to be able to afford to have someone to come and tidy up constantly, but that's not a reality. So it's something I've had to really let go and not feel guilt or shame about it, because I have children and I'm trying to figure out how to teach them to want to tidy up without it being a bribe or like a battle. So I'm still trying to we'll get there hopefully one day.
No, I've had those feelings as well. Like you say, I absolutely adore my son. I would kill for him. I would do anything. Like you say, if anyone hurt him, I will. They'll have to go through me first before they get to him. But I've had quite a few. But one particular instance I remember, because Jacob, he's going through autism testing process in the UK, which is we're dragging on now for about 4 years now that we've been trying to get this diagnosis. So it's ridiculous. I don't want to say high functioning, because I don't think that there's like a high functioning, low functioning. If he's got autism, he's got autism. That it doesn't. But he's verbal. He talks. He's got mannerisms of being autistic. So he flaps a lot. He has meltdowns for no reason. He has very big feelings about very small things. And we had a couple of instances at school when he was at kindergarten last year. And like you say, I'm very similar to you. I've got my husband and that's it. My mum passed away, unfortunately, during COVID, about a year after Jacob was born. She caught COVID and didn't come out of it. So my support system went from my mum and my husband to just my husband. And like your husband, my husband is a butcher. He works from 5:30 in the morning until 6:30 at night. So 99% of the time it's me on my own with Jacob, which is great, 90 to 80% of the time. But that 10% of the time where he's having his meltdown, or he's just having a moment where he's just being a 4-year-old, is really hard sometimes. And he's been getting to that stage since like last year, where he's starting to know my triggers, I think, and he's starting to know what buttons he can push with me to get his point across. And I remember coming out of kindergarten one day, and I'd had a really bad morning getting him to kindergarten. So when I went to pick him up, I was sort of hoping for a better day. I didn't have a very good report from his behaviour at school, so that wasn't great. He came out of the door, he was already in a mood. I could see that he'd just had a crappy day at school, knew that we were going to get home and it was just going to get even worse. And literally I got him in the car, I strapped him into the car seat, and I felt like I can't get into this car at the moment. I cannot get into this car. I couldn't open my door. He was in there and he was sitting there playing his toys. He was absolutely fine. But I just needed that minute because I thought I literally cannot get in the car with you at the moment because I don't know what to say to you. I don't know how to make it better for you. I know that if I get in the car, it's going to just make everything worse. It's just going to, I'm going to try and talk to you and I can tell that you're in a mood. It's just going to cause a friction between the two of us and it's just going to get worse. And I ended up standing by the car and I felt it coming out of me, and I never cry. And I could just feel this like overwhelming sort of emotion coming out of me. And I just burst into tears right on the road outside the school. And I was thinking to myself in my head, well, you look like an idiot now, you stupid woman. What are you doing? And I just sort of slumped over the top of the car with my hands on my head like this, going, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And the next thing I know, I have felt this hand on my shoulder, and it was another mum from the kindergarten who I think I'd spoken to twice, maybe, just sort of said hello. And she came over and she said, are you okay? And I was like, no, I'm not okay. I said, I'm having a moment. I'm not okay. I'm really not okay at the moment. And she came over and she said, do you want a hug? And I was like, yeah, I do want a hug. And she gave me a hug. And this is a woman that I've literally spoken to like twice to say hi to, and then we stood there by the car having a hug. And she said, I was having a chat with her and I, sort of told her what was going on a little bit and sort of said, I'm just having a bit of a day with him today. It's just one of those days. And she said, oh, I have that with my daughter all the time. She said, and then she sort of opened up to me a little bit and she said, my daughter's also being tested for, I think it was ADHD. So she was having her own struggles with her daughter. So they were very similar. And it was just nice just being able to sort of bounce my feelings off that mum and just sort of realize that actually it's not just me that feels like this. I'm not a bad mum for feeling like this. It's a lot to deal with. If I knew that if I got in that car at that moment, it would have just caused an issue and I would have been upset in front of Jacob, which he doesn't like me being upset. That would have then made him feel upset and that he'd done something wrong, and it would have just made the whole situation worse. So I just needed that 2 minutes outside of the car just to kind of get those feelings out. And then once I got in the car, I was fine and I was ready to kind of tackle his day and tackle his feelings then. But I needed my feelings to be out of the way.
Yeah, and I think, it's so hard as a mum because there's so much pressure on you to do it perfect. And like, what is the perfect parent? And like having that other mum come up to you and just hug you, it's like we're all struggling. We're all finding this really, really challenging. And if we were just more like that mum, or just more compassionate to each other and just be like, you've got this, you can do this. Yes, it's really hard, and take time to like kind of ground yourself and just, bring your most emotional state back into check, because the energy that you bring in is going to impact them. So if you're all up here and your energy is all high and everywhere, they're going to feed off it. So it's like really being able to ground yourself and just, I think, the fact that mom came up to you was amazing. And I think we should all be like that. We should all just go and, just all go tell mums you're doing an amazing job. Stop being so critical, everyone, and being like, oh, I wouldn't be doing that now. It's like, no, we just need to be nicer. We're all finding this extremely hard. It's not an easy job. Like, this is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And you're sort of dealing with your own emotions and like trying to like regulate yourself while you're trying to like help figure out how best to support your little one. So it's just, definitely. It is hard. And I think it's okay. It's okay to acknowledge it's hard and find out what you need in order to kind of calm yourself down and help your, like I was saying earlier, like fill your cup. What do you need to fill up your cup so that you can be there to help them meet their needs?
Yeah, definitely. And it reminded me actually then when you and you said it earlier as well about the social media as well. And I think the social media is great. I love social media, but it can be very, very negative because, like you say, we look at social media, we see all these mums on there, these mummy vloggers and things like that you watch, and it's great. But then if you kind of watch it too much, you start judging yourself on them. And we don't tell ourselves enough that we're literally seeing a maybe 1 minute, 2 minute snapshot of their life. You know, they're not going to post generally the bad bits of their life on social media. They are posting that 2 minute section. It's probably the only 2 minute section that they've had that's been good in the day. You know, the rest of the day is terrible, but we're only seeing the good bit of it. And that's what we judge ourselves on. And we think, I'm not living like that. Why am I not living like that? Why am I not dealing with things like this? They probably don't either, but that's what we're seeing on social media. And it can be quite damaging to, if you allow yourself to kind of get sucked into that.
I'm the same as you. I love social media and I find it, but it's horrible at the same time, and it's a real echo chamber. So you kind of go in there, and if you're looking at all these perfect mums, you're like, oh my gosh, the algorithm feeds you more of those. So I've sort of tried to train mine out, and I'm just looking at the mums who have that real life experience, like just who say it as it is, because it helps you feel less alone. So it's those mums that show the messy house and being like, this is how it was when I was trying to get the kids out for school. The telly was on. They had their breakfast in front of the TV, and I was like, thank you for just showing me how it is, because I need my morning, trying to figure it all out and trying to figure out a way that works for you and your family is going to look so different. But just having those moms with those real life experiences, those are the ones I follow, because those are the ones that make me feel good. So I don't follow anything that makes me feel bad or judge myself. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that because I can't. It's hard enough as it is, and I'm judging myself all the time. I just need the mums to make me feel good. So it's those real life accounts that I like following about sort of how it actually is, because those perfect mums, I just no. Even if you're just pretending, I cannot have that, because it's so hard, and I don't want to be like, oh gosh, but look, she makes it look so easy. And like you were saying, you don't know anything going on behind the scenes. You don't know how much help are they actually getting. Exactly. Is there any more support or anything? You don't know the full picture. So it's just the real life mums that I can relate to make me feel good, because as I was saying, life is too hard, particularly as you become a mum. So
yes, definitely. And you mentioned as well about the mental kind of capacity that we have as well, all of the things that we have to remember and do. And it reminded me of I think it was a TikTok video, and it went quite big. I don't know whether you've seen it, but it was actually the comment section of the video that interested me more. But it was a video of a woman in a kitchen. She was standing in the kitchen. Her husband, I think, was filming, or he was, they got the camera set up, but her husband was just sort of off camera. And she was stood in the kitchen and she was saying, I want to eat some dinner because I'm hungry, but I can't eat my dinner because I haven't done the washing up. And if I haven't done the washing up because the dishwasher's not working, which then means that if I've got to unload the dishwasher now, but if I unload this dishwasher, I'm going to have to wash the dishes up and put them in before I put them in the dishwasher. And she was going through all of these things verbally out loud, on just because she wanted some dinner. That was all she wanted. But then she started I've got to, if I have dinner, I've got to do the kids' dinner, and all I want is a sandwich, and they're not going to eat sandwiches. They're not going to do this. I'm going to have to cook them fresh and all of this sort of stuff. And it was supposed to be a lot of people, because of the way she was saying it and doing it, a lot of people in the comments were saying, oh, this is hilarious, blah, 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 blah. A lot of people like me were saying, no, this isn't funny. This is a woman really struggling, actually. She's, all she wants, this woman, is to have something to eat, and her husband should be stepping in and saying, babe, I'll make you a sandwich. Oh, that's it. That's all she wanted, was a sandwich. All of the other stuff could have been dealt with afterwards, the washing up and all of this. But in her head, she had completely gone from that place of cannot have a sandwich because it's going to create this cascade of other things that I need to do. And a lot of people were saying, actually, we get it. I feel like this as well, because it isn't just a case of, we nip out to the shops. Mums don't nip out to the shops. Have we got their bags right? Did they take this? Do they need this? Have they got the right shoes on? Do they need a coat? Is it going to rain? What if it rains and they've only got a t-shirt on? It's just this whole mess of things before you've even remotely thought about going out the door. And I think people that aren't that primary carer, or people that don't have children, just don't understand that mental kind of load that parents have.
Yeah. And it's so hard as a mum to then try and delegate some of those tasks.
Yeah.
Because when you're stuck in that sort of that mode, when you're just like ruminating, being like, right, I need to do this, but actually I need to do this first and that first. And then like because I so often my husband will be like, but you were just going to do this. And I've ended up doing everything else that I could see as I was going to do that one task. I started doing all the other little things because I got so distracted by everything else. And it's so hard to be like, actually, I just need you to do this, or you just need them to start being like, oh, actually, I can see you're struggling. Let me take that off your plate and let me do that without even thinking. Because if you ask me, what do you need? What can I do for you? My brain goes and shut down. It's like, I don't know. You just need to figure that one out. Like I cannot process, or I cannot think what tasks to ask you to actually do, because there is no capacity left in my brain to find you a to-do list, because I'm so busy with my own to-do list that I cannot do it. There's supposed to be a great book, I've not read it yet, called Fair Play or something like that, where the mum, when she became a mum, she just realized that actually this is not right. Why is she doing all? The whole book goes through how you can try and help your partner become more involved in all the tasks. And I've not read it yet. So I've just heard it's really good. I think it's Fair Play. And there's like cards that you can get that you delegate, or that you sort of say, these are all the jobs I do and these are your jobs that you do anyway. And then they can actually like see the jobs that you do and the stuff that they do. Because I think a lot of the time they forget, like they go off to work and they've got their really hard job that they do, and then they come back and then they don't actually realize that you've done your job, plus you've done probably 2 or 3 other jobs as well on top of that, like with looking after the kids. Because like just making sure the kids are fed, that's one job on its own. And then like getting them to school, getting them, if you've got any activities or anything like that, you're the one who's constantly juggling that in your head. And then you're surprised, like at the end of the day, when you just sit down, you're like, right, I'm done now. And there's no, like, you can't have a conversation because you're so fried and your brain is just like gone. That's one thing I have found really hard. It's like, I'm just so, like my brain is constantly going. Even when I'm not with the kids, you're constantly processing, like, right, what's the time now? Is it all, like, when is school pick up? Because I'm terrible with timekeeping. I don't know if it's my dyslexia or what, but my timekeeping is awful. So I have no concept of time. So I set timers for myself so that I don't forget, which sounds awful, but actually it's just, I just really, time just goes away. It can go really slowly or really fast, and it all feels the same. Like there's no concept. So there's so much that you're trying to balance, like trying to figure out and trying to do as a mum, that, you're no wonder that more, like, that as a mum you feel burnt out, there's anxiety, the depression, like there's so much comes to it, because your body is constantly under stress, constantly in a state of sort of that high alert, like where you're just reacting. So it's like trying to figure out how to kind of bring yourself down and just, which I don't have any answers. I don't know. So I'm still trying to figure it all out.
And I think one of the things as well is that my husband, for example, we've had this conversation many times, that and he does appreciate me. He's fantastic, and he does his bit and he helps when he's here, and, he's great. I'm very lucky. But there have been times, like, it's stupid things with me and my husband. Like, I will say to him, what do you want for tea tonight? I'll cook it. I do the cooking because that's my job. I do the cooking. So I will do the cooking. But I'll say to him, what do you want for tea? And he'll say, oh, I'm not bothered, or I'll, just anything. I'll have whatever. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, look, dude, I'm so done with thinking and having to think about stuff. Just tell me what you want. If you want something I haven't got, I will go to the shops and get it. All I want is for you to just tell me, I fancy sausage and mash tonight. Cool, I'll go and do it. No problem. What I don't want to have to do is stand there in the kitchen, looking through the freezer, looking through the food, looking through the cupboards. What have we got? What can I make with this? What can I do with that? I've got this, but I haven't got that, so I can't do that meal, so I'm going to have to do something else now. I'll have to go back and have a look at something else. All I want is just an idea of what you want, and it's like an ongoing thing in our house, because I say to him, you're not being helpful. Just give me an idea as to what you want. You're not helping me. In his sort of head, he thinks he's helping me by saying, by not being specific. He thinks he's helping because he thinks, well, I'm easygoing. I'll have whatever. That's him in his head. So I can see where his logic is, but my logic doesn't work like that. Just tell me what you want. I need you to take that task out of my head. I need you to take it away from me so that I can go and do it, you know.
Yeah, I was really struggling with that as well. And now that, because with me, when she was at nursery, so 3 days a week, I didn't have to worry about what they ate because they'd have a really good meal for lunch. And then at tea time, they would eat. And then they just like have snacks at home, like some porridge. My son's obsessed with porridge, but porridge or Weetabix. So I didn't have to worry about a dinner for her. Like the realization hit me, like I'm going to have to cook 5 meals for her a week and like make sure she's fed. So now I do meal planning. So on a Saturday or Sunday, I sit and I plan the whole week's menu out. And if he doesn't like it, tough luck. He's not like, he can then cook something out, like he can make his own food or something. But that's what, and we eat the same meal as my daughter. She doesn't eat it. I'm like, right, you can have some cereal then because I cannot try and cater
Cook
for
another food.
everyone's palate. So we just have the one same meal and that's it. So I've got my whole week's planned out because I was getting really anxious around food prep and like coming to the kitchen and being like, right, what am I going to cook? What am I going to make my children? What are we going to eat? And it was just really stressing me out. And I was like, right, I need to do this. And I'm not generally a very organized person in that sense. Like in my personal life, it's all a bit of a, well, let's see what happens. But I was like, meal prep. So I was like, I can't because I need to take that stress away. So that's the one thing I've sort of started doing. And it's really helping because then when I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to cook tonight? I can just go to my little list because I've forgotten what I planned and then be like, oh yeah, here it is. So I could just get the recipe and then cook it. So I don't have to worry about that. And it's like finding little things like that work for you and your family because
I think we could probably do with doing that because we've only got the three of us in the house. We have my stepdaughter comes over every weekend, so then we've got her to deal with food wise as well on like Friday to Sunday.
Yeah.
So, but during the week it's the three of us. But we've got different dietary requirements going on as well. So I'm vegetarian and have celiac disease. So I can't eat anything with wheat and gluten in it. Plus I don't eat meat. So that's me. My husband is fine. He'll, like I say, he'll eat anything. He's meat eater. He'll eat anything. But then my son is, potentially because of the autism test, he's very, he's very, very picky with what he eats. He'll only eat certain things. So we've got a lot of different kind of requirements going on in our household. So when I've managed to deal with like Jacob's food and dealt with what he is eating, I've sort of thought in my head, okay, I think I'll have this. But then when my husband comes home and can't tell me what he wants, like I'm just done with that then. So I think maybe doing the meal planning. Yeah, I think doing the meal planning would probably help us actually quite a lot. I think it would probably something I'm going to implement, I think. So when you started your business, going from obviously motherhood to starting a business, how did you kind of start that and what was that kind of journey for you?
So I've had to take it, like I'm running my own race in this and I'm working it out at my own speed. And I'm lucky enough that I'll do a bit of supply teaching on the side, but that I can kind of figure it out slowly because it's taken me a lot longer to figure some things out than what I would like it to do. And then I've gotten really angry with myself. I'm like, but actually, you're really struggling with trying to bring up 2 young kids because my daughter is 4, almost 5, and my son is 2, almost 3. So that we had them really close together, not intentionally. It happened. It's a bit of an accident. So, and they're quite young and sort of 2 little ones. And then you're trying to like figure out all of that and then trying to do the business side of things. And I've come from occupational therapy and teaching. So marketing and that it's not something I ever thought I would have to do. And I was never really on social media, but now I'm on Instagram and I have to be on social media. So you're learning so much and trying to like figure things out so much. And sort of I'm busy doing another sleep course, which is far more about following your intuition and your instincts with the mum and far more moving away from those traditional sleep training methods to more loving, gentle, nurturing methods, which I love. And as soon as I saw this, I was like, I have to do this because this speaks to how I want to like help support the mums because the other ways weren't quite I wasn't following them because they just weren't quite they didn't feel right. So it's just trying to like figure it all out. I'm still figuring it all out. And sort of some days when you've just had a horrendous morning, it takes me a bit longer to try and like get stuff done. And I don't always get everything done that I want to get done. But I just keep telling myself I'm running my own race and I'll get there. And I've got, there's so much I want to do. And sort of I'm trying to get I love going to the coffee mornings with mums and just having chats with them, and it's just trying to I am still figuring it all out. I won't lie here and be like, yeah, I got it all sorted. I know exactly what I'm doing, because I don't. I'll get there when I get there. And I think I've made peace with that. And yeah, as long as just sort of always taking steps forward to move forward and I'm not just standing in one place, I feel like I'm making progress and yeah, getting there.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a nice way to sort of end on the we're all running our own race. I think it's like you're saying, I don't think I call the podcast Balancing Business and Babies, but I don't think that exists. I don't think finding the perfect balance, like you say, it is just finding what works for you and your family, and that is going to be different for all of us, and everyone's going to have their own journey that they're on while they're doing their businesses. Some are going to go that way and some are going to go that way. So I think running your own race is a great way to kind of finish on. So thank you so much for coming on, Mia. It's been lovely to talk to you. Do you just want to let everyone know where they can come and find you on social media and contact you?
Yes, so I'm mainly on Instagram at Celebrate Sleep with Mia, and there we'll give sort of loads of sleep tips. And I've got a free sleep guide that just focuses on bedtimes and just sort of how to kind of help connect with your little one at bedtime and help them wind down. Because for some kids, all you need is like a calming bedtime, and then that can actually just really help set the good path to that sleep. And that also just gives us a great time as parents to really connect with our little ones. So we've got a free bedtime guide, bedtime routine guide. There we go. Sorry, my brain is. So yes, I've got a free bedtime routine guide that you can download as well. Sort of, there's a link on my Instagram page and stuff. But yes, mainly Instagram, and then you can DM me as well and ask me any questions about sleep. Because I'd love to help as many mums possible with their sleep and their little ones, fostering those independent sleep skills.
That's lovely. Thank you. I will put Mia's links and everything in the show notes for anyone that wants to go and grab that guide, or contact Mia as well for any sleep tips. So thank you again for coming on the show, Mia. It's been lovely to talk to you, and I will see everyone next week.
Thank you so much.